A big 2 steps forward for the Lightning, 5 for Brandon Hagel, but 1 step back as they lose another forward to injury. We'll talk about Hagel's career night and the Lightning's injury problems on today's episode of Locked On Lightning.
You're Locked On Lightning, your daily podcast on the Tampa Bay Lightning,
part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Josh Sperber here, thanking all of you for making Locked On Lightning your first listen every day. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And if your team is the Tampa Bay Lightning, then this is the show for you. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. You can start the season with a big return on FanDuel. New customers can place a $5 bet, and you'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. Visit FanDuel.com to get started today. And let's get started talking about last night. 8-2 win for the Lightning. Second time they have scored 8 or more goals this season. And this game was great in so many different ways. There was not a single category where the Avalanche had an advantage over the Lightning except for third period shots and hits. But by the third period, the game was pretty much over. The Lightning took a scoring lead in every single period, including 5-1 first period. Brandon Hagel tied a record in the NHL with 4 first period helpers, putting himself on a list with guys like Wayne Gretzky and Mario Lemieux. 2 people that Hagel himself was surprised to be on a list with. It was also the Lightning franchise record for assists in a single game. First time since March 9th when Darren Radish had 5 helpers against Philadelphia. Hagel was also the first Lightning player in history with 4 assists in the first period. And he is also one of just 3 active players, Patrick Kane, Artemi Panarin, and Mark Stone, to record 5 primary assists in a single game. 9 points, including 8 assists in the last 3 games for Hagel. And there are just 2 teams in the league this year with multiple 8-goal games, the Lightning and the Ottawa Senators. The offense was incredible for Tampa. I think we could talk about that for weeks, just about how good the Lightning offense was. I don't think Tampa has had a better game on offense this season. And frankly, they might not for the rest of the year, which has nothing to do with how good I think the Lightning are. It's just the fact that this is just not a game that happens multiple times. Highest face-off percentage won by the Lightning this season. Scored on both power plays. 33-25 in shots on goal, had a lead in every single quarter, just quarter by quarter or period by period. The Lightning won every single one. 5-1 in the first, 1-0 in the second, 2-1 in the third. This was just a completely dominant game by the Tampa Bay Lightning by any metric that you can say. Just a fantastic game against a surging Colorado team right after they lost to the team ahead of them in the Central Division standings. I mean, what a way to bounce back against a really solid team by the Tampa Bay Lightning. I mean, I'm almost lost for words. And on top of all that, he had a whole bunch of firsts this season as well. Luke Glendening got his first goal of the year. Zemgus Girgensons got his first point as a Lightning and his 100th career assist. And Mikey Eyssimont got the last goal on that assist, his first goal of the season and first since the playoffs. Anthony Cirelli is rocking a 6-game goal streak, which is the longest goal streak in the NHL. I mean, the Lightning were just firing on all cylinders last night, plain and simple. Great way to start off the holiday week. And you just love seeing those kind of games after a tough loss like the one in Dallas. I mean, the players, Coach Cooper all visibly upset with how the game turned out on Saturday against the Stars. And it seemed like anything that any questions that they had, this was a mistake, that was a mistake, any of that was answered in the win against the Avalanche. The Lightning were talking about consistency. Cooper was talking about just not making mistakes, and they really didn't. It was just a great team win and a dominant performance by the Lightning. They didn't let up. They didn't take their foot off the gas. It was just a high octane, high powered offensive game. And those are the kind of matchups that favor the Tampa Bay Lightning. This is a team that might have the strongest offensive identity in the league. They have some solid guys on defense. They've got Vasilevsky in the net, so there's enough defense there to stop the bleeding most nights. But the Lightning are going to win games this season on the strength of their offense. I think that's something that they have proven time and time again this year, and it is, it's something that I don't think is going to stop anytime soon. The Lightning just have too many talented offensive players, and just the system that they run seems to just emphasize that offensive firepower. They spread the puck around. You get a couple of guys with some multi-goal games, but other than Brandon Hagel's 5-assist performance, pretty much everyone had a helping hand. I mean, Hagel might have taken the game away from a couple of players, but just about the entire Lightning roster had a point. You look at the forwards, Gage Gonzalez, Mitchell Chafee, who left due to injury in the third period, and Connor Geekie were the only three forwards who did not get a point. Defensively, 2 of 7 did, but on the offensive side, 8 of 11 players recorded a point in that game. That's just been the way the Lightning have been all season long. You've got everyone pitching in on offense. It is, a teamwork-oriented team. The guys share the puck, they spread it around, and there are enough talented offensive players that just about anyone, if they get a puck near them, can put that in the net. And they did that better and more efficiently than they have in any game this season. And they did it in a consistent way. I mean, it's not every day that you've got goals coming in every period. The second period, I think, is where the Lightning have slowed up a little bit, and they still outshot the Avs and went 1-0 on the Avs in that second period. It is not the most shots the Lightning have taken in the game, so one of their more efficient games when it comes to the amount of shots taken, and scored 8 goals in 33 shots. They had 37 the last time they put up 8 goals in New Jersey against the Devils, and they really just gave the Lightning fans a nice little holiday treat before Thanksgiving. Just a truly dominant performance by the Tampa Bay Lightning. Everyone, it seems, getting involved, and these are just the things that you like to see, especially coming off of 2 really tough losses. That Blue Jackets game, everyone's hoping was a fluke. You've got, by the end of the game, you got 2 of your forwards who get significant playing time. In Mitchell Chafee and Nick Paul injured. So, a bit of a hole kind of opening up on the forward line. Doesn't matter. Still dominant offensive performance, and the Avalanche just didn't have it. The Lightning shut down the Avs. 2 pretty significant wins and pretty large in terms of goal differential as well. Avs scored 4 goals. Lightning scored 13 in the 2 games between the 2 sides this season. The next time that they would meet would be in a Stanley Cup final if they can get to that point. And I think for both of these teams, that's a tall order. But, these are 2 teams that right now, the Avs and the Lightning are sitting at 4th and 3rd, respectively, in their divisions. The Stars have 2 games in hand over the Avalanche. The Lightning have 2 games in hand over the Florida Panthers and 1 over the Toronto Maple Leafs, who are in first place now in the Atlantic Division. So both the Lightning and the Avalanche are in playoff position, And honestly, I think both set up to be some playoff dark horses because they've got the star power and the talent to get hot in a hurry. The Avalanche were not able to do that against the Tampa Bay Lightning, but the Lightning were able to do that and take the victory. And a big part of that was Brandon Hagel's breakout game. We touched on it a little bit in the first segment, but how can this kind of game affect Brandon Hagel's season? How can it turn into a breakout season for Brandon Hagel, unless it already has? Prize Picks is the best place to get real money sports action. With over 10 million members and billions of dollars in awarded winnings, Prize Picks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to all. You just pick more or less on at least 2 players for a shot to win up to 100 times your cash. Run your game all season long on Prize Picks. You can now win up to 100 times your money on Prize Picks with as little as 4 correct picks. Prize Picks, the best way to get action on sports in over 30 states, including the great state of Florida. Prize Picks is the best way to get real money sports action. So join over 10 million users and sign up today. Prize Picks invented the flex play, which means you can still cash out if your lineup isn't perfect. You can double your money, even if one of your picks doesn't hit. Prize Picks puts all their members first, so all withdrawals are fast, safe, and secure. When my picks hit, I can get my money in as quick as 15 minutes. Prize Picks now offers Venmo for quick and easy deposits and withdrawals into your accounts this NHL season. So sign up today and get $50 instantly when you play just $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. Prize Picks also offers weekly promotions that can lead to big payouts, like Taco Tuesday, where every Tuesday, Prize Picks discounts select player projections up to 25% for even more value provided to your lineups. And today is Tuesday, so you might want to get on Prize Picks right now. Download the app today and use the code LOCKEDONNHL to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Download the Prize Picks app today. Use the code LOCKEDONNHL, LOCKEDONNHL, and get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, run your game. And Brandon Hagel was running his game last night, tying a Lightning franchise record with 5 assists, tying an NHL record with 4 assists in the first period. As I mentioned earlier, joining a list with guys like Wayne Gretzky, Mario Lemieux, Bobby Orr, casually just some of the best players to ever pick up a hockey stick. And now, I'm not saying Hagel is on that level. He is a great player. Certainly don't want to say differently. But it is indicative of something more, I think, for Brandon Hagel. And that might have been the best game he has put up this season. But it's certainly not the only elite game that Hagel has put up. He had a second period hat trick against the Devils in Lightning's last 8-goal game back in October. 5-1 second period, 5-1 first period in this one. And Hagel has had a big part in that. And it really seems like when the Lightning are, providing an avalanche of goals, even against the Avalanche, Brandon Hagel is involved. And, I don't want to take away from Nikita Kucherov as the primary point scorer on this Lightning team, but Brandon Hagel is right there with him. 21 points on the season, tied for second on the Lightning with Anthony Cirelli, who has 1 more assist and 1 fewer goal than Brandon Hagel. And Hagel, with those 5 assists last night, has him up to 12 assists, which is 4th on the team behind Cirelli, Kucherov, and the captain, Victor Hedman. But Hagel is on pace for a lot more than that. Right now, he has 9 goals and 17 assists through his first 20 games. He is on pace for 69 assists and 36 goals if he plays the full 82 this season, both of which would set career highs for him. With a career best 49 helpers last year and a career best 30 goals the year before, Brandon Hagel has really transformed himself as just a rotational guy for the Chicago Blackhawks and even the Lightning in the 22 games he played after coming over at the trade deadline in 2022. And now Hagel has turned into a crucial offensive player on the Tampa Bay Lightning team. He's been praised by John Cooper this season. Not just about his offensive skill, but him and Cirelli's chemistry together and their penalty killing ability. He just does everything right. He's just a smart hockey player, puts himself in the right position. And I mean, there were so many examples of that, but the one that I really wanted to touch on was the Braden Point power play goal that caused Georgiev to throw his stick. Second period, the Lightning's only goal in that second, and I believe the last goal that Georgiev faced. But the Lightning had an opportunity. The Avs weren't defending it just close to the crease. The Lightning had what seemed to be the last third of the attacking zone completely open for them. They missed the first shot, and Point stayed in just the center of the ice, untouched. Got the puck back, ricocheted off the board, was passed to Brandon Hagel. Before it got to Point by Nikita Kucherov, Hagel made just an instant reaction, a one-touch pass right behind him to Point. Easy shot on the net. Stick goes flying from Georgiev. Brandon Hagel has his 5th assist of the game. Smart positioning, smart hockey, gave Braden Point an easy one for what ended up being Hagel's final assist on the game. And as I mentioned, he's on pace to set career highs in both goals and assists this season. Assists, I fully expect him to. Goals, it might not be, the 36 or 40, which he's projected to get right now if he goes at the same rate that he is. But I think it's certainly going to be a breakout season for Brandon Hagel. Even if it doesn't show up on the stat sheet as his most goals, his highest plus minus, it's going to be hard for him to beat the plus 23 he had in his first full season with the Lightning back in 2023. But, this is, I think, going to go down as Brandon Hagel's best season so far. Best season of his career? Maybe. I think that's difficult to tell, but it seems like Brandon Hagel is only going up, and he is really turning into a legitimate star in this league, a legitimate, budding great in this league. And he has just been so good for the Tampa Bay Lightning, only behind Kucherov in points. 18 penalty minutes, which is not too bad. Third among forwards, actually, for the Lightning. He's, for the most part, staying out of the penalty box, and offensively, he's helping out in every single way. It's really turning into a breakout season for Brandon Hagel. Does that mean he's going to end up completely replacing Jake Guentzel on that first line? No, I don't think so. I think he's in a good spot. Hagel is not a guy who just commands the spotlight. I'm not saying that Guentzel does either, but that big contract is going to put a little more light on Jake Guentzel. So, I mean, I don't think that even if Hagel, has been, I think, the better player at points this season, they've both been great in different ways. I think Guentzel has been exactly what the Lightning have expected, but Brandon Hagel this season has been the best offensive player on the team, with the exception of Nikita Kucherov. And that is, not just because of the fact that he's had their second hat trick of the season, Kucherov getting the first one. But it was it was the only hat trick the Lightning have had this season that did not include an empty net goal, a natural hat trick, all in one period for Brandon Hagel. In the 2 games where the Lightning have put up 8 goals, Brandon Hagel has had a big part in them. So it seems like that Kucherov is always going to be passing out assists, getting goals. He is one of the best players in the NHL. But Brandon Hagel, I think, can be that extra guy that can really take the Lightning offense to a new level. And he has done that at points this season. Certainly the case last night. It was the case against the Devils. And there have been other games where it's been Hagel leading the team on the offensive side. And I certainly expect more of those this season and beyond from the Lightning's left winger. But the Lightning do have some other things to worry about in terms of injuries. They were already out Nick Paul. Cam Atkinson has been battling with some injuries. And Atkinson did not get in the game last night at home. He has been kind of day to day. It seems like Nick Paul, who was out indefinitely, might take a little bit of time. So the Lightning might have to think of some other options at forward. Will it be via trade, look to free agency, or look to the AHL Syracuse crunch? Get ready to tackle the NHL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Because right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NHL all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. So never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NHL and America's #1 sportsbook. We're back here. Josh Sperber on Locked On Lightning, and the injuries are always a problem. Not just for the Lightning, but for any team. It's something that is unfortunately a natural part of sports, and has been the case a lot more lately for the Tampa Bay Lightning. They used that week off before the Winnipeg game last week to kind of recharge. They got some of their guys back, but they still currently have 3 forwards that are missing time. Nick Paul has missed the last couple of games. Mitchell Chaffee was the latest to go down after he left tonight's game early with an undisclosed injury. And Cam Atkinson has missed the last couple of games. Now, Atkinson might be a healthy scratch. The Lightning have been having some success with that 11-7 that they've been going with Nick Paul out of the lineup. And that is seemingly going to have to continue with now Mitchell Chaffee potentially going down. Chaffee has played mostly in right wing this season, so it gives really 2 intriguing options for Tampa Bay if they're just looking for that kind of straight up addition on the right wing side. Nico Huutonen and Jesse Ilonen are both listed as right wingers on the Syracuse crunch. Huutonen is an interesting case if we're looking to the crunch for some potential Lightning replacements if Chaffee and Paul are both forced to miss extended time. There's some centers that I'm going to go to first, but Nico Huutonen is someone that is interesting. He was acquired this season. He's a rookie on Syracuse in 16 games. He leads the crunch in goals with 7 and has 3 assists, third on the team with 10 points. His +5 is second on the team and first among forwards. And he also is tied for the team lead along with Derek Pouliot and Joe Teasdale with 2 power play goals on the season. So offensively, Huutonen has been one of, if not the best offensive players on the Lightning this season. Only Dylan Duke, who we're going to talk about in a minute, and Derek Pouliot have more points than Nico Huutonen. But it might be too early in the season to call up hardcore prospects. It's one thing if the Lightning were struggling this season and they just needed, a breath of fresh air, some fresh legs, some new guys that are just looking to make a name for themselves or something like that. That's not the case. It's just injuries right now that are becoming a problem. And the Lightning have kind of made things work in They're 11-7. I think it's just given other teams just a different look at the way the Lightning run their offense. And I think one thing that an offensive team can do to kind of shake things up, especially if it's a team like the Lightning where stopping that offense especially could be deadly to a Lightning team. Getting a firecracker like Hooten can come up. He's scored in bunches. It's just been, it seems like a couple of multi-goal games here and there, and that's what's put him on the score sheet. So that kind of offensive firepower could help Tampa Bay, but I just don't know if the Lightning are ready to add new prospects into the mix. They've got, veterans and some young up-and-comers. Lightning, I do have a pretty young roster for the most part, mixed in with some veterans, but I think throwing a rookie into that at this point in the season, that might just alter the balance a little bit too much. But the Lightning do still have some options. Jesse Ylönen was a guy who was playing a good bit with the Bolts during preseason, but has had an underwhelming start to the season in Syracuse with -1. He has a goal and 4 assists in 16 games, tied for the team lead, also with Hooten, but also Sturck, Pulio, Dylan Duke, and Joel Teasdale, who among Crunch players, along with Toby Bisson, who have played 16 games this season so far. Again, normally I think it would be too early for the Lightning to call up, unproven guys, relatively untested guys in Hooten and Ylönen, neither of who have played much, if any at all, in the NHL. But if you're looking for right wings, those are the best options that I think the Lightning have. I think another rookie, though, is where I would look for the Tampa Bay Lightning if they're going to give a prospect a chance, and that's Dylan Duke. 6 goals, 5 assists, plus or minus of 4, just 15 penalty minutes. He's got a power play goal and a shorty. And, again, these are guys that just have not had a lot of experience in pro hockey. And I just don't know how much they could help the Tampa Bay Lightning right now. But the fact is, the Lightning just need some depth on the forward side. Nick Paul has been a crucial player for the Lightning this season, playing multiple positions on offense. Cam Atkinson has provided some nice veteran presence to Tampa Bay, but I mean, I just don't see an instant impact guy in the Lightning's farm system right now. The Cruncher are not exactly running away with the AHL right now. They are still in position to qualify for the Calder, or just outside, on the outside looking in terms of qualifying for the Calder Cup. 17 points puts them 6th in the North Division. So they have been, as a whole, the Crunch have been relatively average this season. And I just don't see a player on the Crunch right now that can make an instant impact on the Tampa Bay Lightning. I definitely think there's some intriguing rookie options, but I think you just need to see them play more time in the AHL and in the younger leagues before they get up to the NHL. But there are still some options if the Lightning want to address their injury issues in the AHL. I do think, though, the Lightning should be an active team in the trade deadline. I don't see standings-wise the Lightning changing too much. I think the Panthers and Maple Leafs have been the best 2 teams in the Atlantic Division this season. I'll actually be at the next game that the Maple Leafs come to town on the last day of November on Saturday the 30th. So that'll certainly be a key game that we'll talk about later in the week. But that's going to be pretty telling. But the Lightning definitely need to get healthier before that game. Hopefully they'll be able to get Nick Paul back, but that just is kind of up in the air right now. Chaffee left the game early. That could be precautionary. The Lightning just have just a couple of complementary but key pieces with their status a bit up in the air. So it's going to be interesting to see what the Lightning do. I definitely think the trade deadline is something that we're going to have to be talking about more and more as things go on, because if things don't change much and the Lightning just keep having to take guys in and out of the lineup because of injury, they're going to have to make some moves at the trade deadline. And there are a lot of different ways that they can go. So that's something that we'll talk about, something that I think the Lightning will be getting involved in, maybe even sooner than the trade deadline. I've already heard trade rumors popping up for a number of different teams, though the Lightning have not been involved. It's certainly going to be interesting to see what they do when it comes to addressing their injury woes and a whole lot more as the season progresses. But that is something to talk about tomorrow. Thank you all for tuning into today's episode of Locked On Lightning and making Locked On Lightning your first listen every day. Now for your second listen, find Locked On Fantasy Hockey. Become a fantasy hockey expert and get the edge over your league mates with daily tips from Steele and Flip. Find Locked On Fantasy Hockey on YouTube or wherever you listen to your podcasts. And you can do the same here with Locked On Lightning. Please give us a subscribe, a like, a follow. Show some love in the comments if you feel so inclined. We really appreciate your support because we make this show for you. So thank you for tuning in, and hopefully you'll tune in tomorrow for another episode of Locked On Lightning. Have a great day, everybody.